On April 12, 2019, the Trump administration's ban on transgender Americans joining the military took effect. It's estimated there are nearly 15,000 transgender troops currently serving. The Pentagon says the new policy does not affect them, but advocates strongly deny that claim.
I think it's just crazy that we're turning people away who are willing and capable.
They're willing to serve their country and they're willing to die for their president. Leadership is telling them, we don't want your service.
The military employs discrimination every day. Any pre-existing medical condition is going to essentially preclude you from joining the military.
The High Court is allowing President Trump's ban while the case makes its way through the courts.
If you were born a man, you have to dress as a man, use the men's restrooms. The same for women.
70% of American voters support transgender people serving in the military.
I've come to Colorado Springs to meet Logan and Laila Ireland. In 2015, they were the first ever military couple to come out as transgender. Ever since, they've worked tirelessly to advocate on behalf of their community.
How long have you two been married for?
How long? It'll be 3 years in
May 17th.
In May.
is our 3-year anniversary.
Sure about that?
100%.
Logan is a staff sergeant in the U.S. Air Force, and Laila is an Iraq War veteran who now works in healthcare management for the U.S. Army. They live and breathe the U.S. military. It's their entire life. Logan enlisted in the military as a woman. Laila enlisted as a man. And how did you two meet?
We actually met online through a military support group for transgender military people. At that time, there was no openness about being trans and being in the military, and so it was kind of a secret group.
Logan's deployment to Afghanistan is depicted in the feature documentary, Transmilitary.
My commander was a little surprised when I told her that I was transgender, that I was assigned female at birth. This deployment.
If it wasn't for my leadership, putting their careers possibly on the line and putting their necks out and saying, hey, here's this airman that wants to serve. Let's give them the ability to serve authentically.
And now I'm going by male dress and appearance standards too. So I don't have to grow my hair out.
That simple act that my chief and my commander gave me made me want to stay to retirement, and I don't regret it at all. I'm a transgender white male with passing privilege. I haven't been discriminated against in the military or in the civilian sector, but we need to highlight that my story and my image is not the same as other transgender military members or just other people in general.
So we're heading to Denver, Colorado today. I'm actually speaking at the University of Colorado at Denver.
Hey, good to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Thanks for having us.
We're very lucky. We happen to stumble upon this platform where we can speak for other people, and we want to utilize that as much as possible. When I joined the military in 2003, on the application was still, are you homosexual? And for a large amount of my adult life, I did identify as a gay male, but it just never stuck to me. The title never stuck to my being. If our youth now can see themselves in the people that are fighting for their country, that gives them more motivation to want to be a part of something bigger than themselves, right? To be a soldier, an airman, a Marine, or a sailor. You know, these are things that we want our best and brightest to want to be a part of.
Since July of 2017, there's been this talk of a transgender military ban. What is going through your mind right now?
So for myself, I will be grandfathered. I have a diagnosis in my medical record stating that I am fit to serve as the gender that I want to be seen as male. However, there are some people in the military who, if they have not gotten this documentation in their medical record, they cannot transition. I am being ordered to tell somebody, hey, if you want to live more authentically, and you have yet to have that diagnosis after April 12th, you're going to have to serve in silence. That's a sickening feeling.
Right now, in the shadow of the U.S. Capitol, there are several trans advocates and congresspeople speaking out on the fight ahead.
And we continue fighting for your loved ones, fighting for your families, fighting for your future, and fighting for our country.
There are 4 ongoing lawsuits arguing that this new policy is unconstitutional. Sasha Buchert with Lambda Legal is one of the attorneys currently challenging the ban in court.
You work directly on cases that are challenging this policy. Where does it stand right now?
Yeah, so I'm part of one of the challenges. There's 4 that are working their way through the courts. When the tweets were issued by the president, it was very clear that this was about transgender people. But the Department of Justice has quickly realized that they have to backfill those policies with something that can survive in court. So they've shifted their justifications from this being all about transgender people to, a supposed medical condition.
The Department of Defense and the Department of Justice declined to comment for this story.
And this is personal for you.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. It's been a long time, but I served in the United States Marine Corps, very proud of my service, but I had to hide who I was, and that's what the military is trying to enshrine today.
Right now, I'm about to speak with Thomas Spohr, who works for the Heritage Foundation. He recently penned an op-ed saying that this is the right call. Many people are calling it a ban on transgender service members. You're not calling it a ban, correct?
Well, no, and that's because it's not a ban. It actually allows individuals who are transgender to serve. If you don't have gender dysphoria, then you're welcome to serve, and we want you to serve because we need all the people we can get.
What is gender dysphoria?
Because of the way that our culture treats transgender people generally, when people transition, there's often some discomfort, that you have to work through, some dysphoria, between, your birth sex and who you are, who you are, your innate sense of self. And, we all work through that, and dysphoria lessens and disappears.
The American Psychological Association has said that a diagnosis of gender dysphoria should not preclude someone from being able to serve in the military. What do you think about that?
So if you're stable, if you're not currently experiencing gender dysphoria and you've been that way for 36 months, again, you can join the military. But if you're currently in the throes of gender dysphoria, it obviously doesn't make any sense to bring that person into a highly stressful military situation.
They'll say, well, no, transgender people are great. They should be able to serve. They just can't live as who they are, regardless of whether they're experiencing dysphoria or not. The real policy is to deny people the ability to live authentically.
If someone is trans and is serving in the military but now feels like they have to stay closeted, that could then make it worse and make the anxiety worse.
They don't have to stay closeted. The only thing they can't exhibit are any symptoms of gender dysphoria.
But if they come out, they would have to perform in the military under their sex assigned at birth.
Correct.
Right. I think the argument is that if you are transgender, then they need to serve in their gender identity that they feel preferred in, because that's how they would actually be able to do their job effectively.
Yeah, and I can't speak to that. That's probably a bit more than I'm able to comment on.
So, this idea that somehow gender dysphoria is going to prevent trans folks from serving openly is absolute nonsense. The boots on the ground reality is that people have been serving openly without any disruption to unit cohesion. All they've been doing is going to work and doing their jobs.
Each month, Logan and Laila host a potluck with their friends, most of whom are also in the military and identify as LGBTQ.
I'm Captain Olivia Stellick. I am in the United States Army and I'm a physical therapist.
Olivia completed her transition in 2017 and last year spent 8 months deployed to Afghanistan. What was it like being in Afghanistan?
It was amazing, honestly.
Not the answer I was expecting, no.
No, it's not really the answer you think about. I was the only 6-foot-tall woman with a Ranger tab in Afghanistan, so I would go to a new fob and somebody would be like, "You're that physical therapist." And I'd be like, "Yep, I'm that physical therapist."
Oh, you were on Capitol Hill and you testified on behalf of transgender military people. What was that like?
A bit overwhelming. Here we are in DC as service members saying, all of us have chosen to make this our life and our careers. And to say that somehow we can't or shouldn't just doesn't fit with the data.
Has my transition made soldiers uncomfortable? On the contrary, during my recent deployment to Afghanistan, soldiers opened up and told me things they never would have before, things that they said they've never told other people. I asked them why, and the consistent answer was that they valued my authenticity, my courage in being myself. It allowed them to do the same thing.
You know there are a lot of people watching this who think transgender people should not be in the military. There's something wrong with them inherently. But you're still willing to say, "I'll die for you."
Yeah, the fact that we can all exist together and have those different opinions, that's what's remarkable about this country, and that's what's worth defending.
You look perfect tonight.
Like, me being transgender is just one pillar, but that's the one that everybody likes to focus on. And I understand that's kind of the talk of the times right now, but I can't wait for a time where that's just one thing of me.
All that we're asking is for the dignity and respect that we deserve for serving this country. We're not asking for any special recognition or special treatment.
Lambda Legal will challenge it, as we have since the ban was announced, and will continue to move towards trial. And we're confident that we will eventually prevail in court.